Malcolm, the season as far as wool is concerned?
From a production perspective, Rob, it's been a mixed bag. The weather pattern this year has been fairly obvious. We've gone through droughts and we've had weather bombs, and our country of microclimates, of course, that shows up in the wool quite a lot. We had quite a bit of facial eczema in the east coast of the North Island, which impacted on things like lamb numbers this year. So we've also had variable weather in the South Island, 30 degrees one day, rain the next, and humidity. So that all impacts on animal health, and particularly on the wool when it's on the animal. So this year we're seeing probably a denigration in colour quite a bit. We aren't seeing as much of the very bright B-bar double good colour, what we call B-bar double B wool, which in a flat market is what is the hot product. You can dye white wool any colour of the spectrum, but as soon as it starts to shade off and get a bit of yellowness into it, then you can't bring that back to bright white, so it restricts the usage of that wool. Anybody who's buying wool in a flattish market wants the best, gives them the best options when they're moving it through their product chain. So we're struggling this year with what we'd say is the average colour group, the B-style group, and we produce quite a lot of that, and the market at the moment is pretty flat for that. On the price side of things this year, I think anybody in the wool industry is well aware that we've been in free fall for nearly 12 months. If you look at the whole segment, the merinos are about the only ones that have done very, very well, and there's a reason for that, which I'll move to. Mid-micron is way under where we were last year. Fine crossbreds, coarse crossbreds particularly, are around about $2 clean a kilo on average from where we were last year and the year before. Lambs are around about $3 a kilo less, under half of what we were last year. But what you have to look back to is over the 2 seasons before this, we saw quite a steady climb, and we got to historical highs for maybe the last 15 or 20 years, to the highest point we've been in a long time. And I think what happened was we've overshot the mark on the up, and it got to a price point with a lot of clients where they stopped including that percentage of New Zealand wool in their product range than they used to use. So then it got so pricey for them that they basically exited using so much of it. So what we've seen this season is a fall off of that. A lot of it was driven because of the Brexit issue with price. Europe, it just got too dear for them. Against the sterling at the moment, we're still 20% difference in currency difference, which has impacted hugely back here. So that's a big impact for selling into UK in particular. And then we've had the Chinese who overstocked hugely with wool, and they've got dear stocks and they can't trade it out, and they're unwilling to take the losses onto their books. So they moved to the merino market, which is why the merino side is now spiked. That has sort of got to a level where they're now starting to look over the fence again at coarser wools, and they looked at the price, and we are now so low in our price that it's just too attractive to them. And in the last 4 sales, you've just seen the market turn, and we're starting to lift. We think it is more an opportunist lift at the moment for the reason that prices are so low. So people are sort of saying, oh, we've maybe hit the bottom, we're turning, we better put some in the cupboard to take advantage of this as the market lifts. So it's the traders that are doing it, not so much the manufacturers that are climbing back into it. So
it's almost sort of working on a futures market, isn't it?
Just a little like that, yes. And unfortunately, we've had a history of these overcorrections on the way up, and then an overcorrection on the way down, and that's where we are at the moment. So we're hoping that when this turns more and stays static, and we move back up, we're likely to move to a mid-range in our pricings in between, rather than that spike level. The reason I say that is that China is now taking 55% less of New Zealand wool than it did last year, and their infrastructure is changing over there. The demands on them for environmental issues. There's also the issue with where they sell their wool, and you've got to look to America with their political climate change and their approach. So you're going to possibly see less being able to go from China to America, which is a big consuming market for the Chinese production. So we're thinking that they won't be as aggressive, the Chinese won't be as aggressive into our marketplace. So we should, we think, stabilise somewhere between where we are today and where we were a year or two ago.
Is it becoming fashionable again? Because we often talk about making wool fashionable.
The fine wool sector is always fashionable, and you just see that spike and then come off a bit and spike and come off a bit, and it's been pretty good consistently. Carpet wools is not so much a fashion aspect, it is more how people see they are involved in the environment. It is more environmentally friendly than synthetics, so people are becoming more conscious about what am I walking on, where did it come from, how's it processed, what does it do to the environment, and wool stands up very well to that.
And does it give you static electricity when you walk up and touch something?
No, not like synthetic does.
That's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, I hate it. You bling, zap.
Yeah, it is uncomfortable, and you know, a lot of this sort of thing has been forgotten by a lot of people because of the move to synthetics. So synthetics became the product of choice. It is now harder for us to get people back to using wool. But a combination of the environmental aspect and the price level at the moment is making wool probably more desirable than it has been in the last several months.
Malcolm, thank you very much indeed.